It's time. The US college admission deadlines are right around the corner. So, whether you are applying for the early action or regular decision deadlines as a prospective undergrad student, in this video, we're going to look at how you're going to apply to the US colleges the right way, break down step by step everything that goes into the application portal, learn about your free waivers, how to get that, and apply for that 100% scholarship. So let's get started. So a little bit about the deadlines themselves. There are two kind of categories that you need to care about. There's an early action category which have deadlines in November. If you're ready and prepared for them, I highly suggest applying to these. The only difference is they're quicker. So students that aren't prepared usually apply for the regular decision. However, the regular decision deadlines happen somewhere in January or even Feb and March for certain colleges. Each college has its own deadline, and you need to keep a track of which college you're applying to. Now, I've gone over the entire requirements and everything you need to know about deadlines, as well as the different types of colleges, even shortlisting colleges in a separate guidebook video. So feel free to check that out if you feel like you're still lost. But in this video, we're focusing on the application itself. And most of you will be doing that through Common App. Now, Common App is one website where you can apply to up to 20 colleges. It makes your life easier. It makes your teachers' lives easier. Basically, one website, and you can just fill out the information and just select the colleges you want to apply to. Now, there are some college-specific questions that they ask. Also, they get into nitty-gritty details of like adding a lot of essays, activities, and a lot of pitfalls that you need to know about and not make mistakes that we're going to go over in this video. So you're going to sign up on the Common App website, and this is what you're going to see on the dashboard. It's very straightforward, and we're not going to get too intimidated by all of these options on the side. The thing to note is My Common application has information that goes to all colleges. So this will have information about yourself, your family, your school, your grades. My Colleges is where you add the colleges you want to apply to. We'll get in that in just a little bit. So we'll start out with My Common application. So under profile, personal information, straightforward. You're going to give in your first name, last name. Remember, all of this should match whatever details you have in your passport. That's important. Scroll down. If any of these apply to you, you would fill that in as well. Next up, we have the address. Same thing, your permanent home address. And for the permanent home address, know that it should be capable of receiving mail. Sometimes when you get accepted by colleges, they like to send some swag, acceptance letters, booklets, offers, things like that. So make sure that this is a valid address. The next one we have here are contact details. You can add in a preferred phone number if you want, also an alternative phone number. It can also be your parents' phone number if you don't have these specific details for yourself. Demographics, most of these are optional. So if you're comfortable, your gender, legal sex, pronouns, whether you're in the US Armed Forces, if you are Hispanic or Latino. For international students, most of these responses will be no. And then how you identify yourself and your background. Once you have those filled in, you'll hit continue. Now with language, now this is tricky. Now number of languages you're proficient in, please don't go ahead and type in 5+ if you've just started taking a language. Typically, they're looking for proficiency around these things. So if you can speak, read, write, or you've kind of spoken the language at home, add whatever you're applicable with, and then you'll hit continue. Geography and nationality is where you were born. Again, this is information based on your passport and your citizenship status, and you would list those things out. If you've been to the US or hold a US visa, you would add that in. For this last part, if you are an international student, you would hit yes that you do intend on applying for a new US visa, and the type would be F1 student, which is the visa that students get when they come to the US to study. Now the next part here is the Common App fee waiver. Now this is by far one of the more popular questions that students ask. And it's always kind of tricky to understand if you're eligible for the Common App fee waiver, because most of the stuff here is, it's not really easy to follow along. And this is where I like to use the help of the extension called ACE AI. So we're going to go through that. So what we're going to do is basically select the question we want to ask, right click and hit Ask ACE AI. Now, it's always a good idea that when you're asking the question to give like some amount of context. And in this case, I want to know if I would be eligible as an international student. The cool thing about the extension is because it's geared towards Common App, college admissions, and basically the student details, it gives you answers that are very specific. So first off, we see that yes, I would be eligible as an international student. And if you scroll down, it also lets us know that one of the most common ways to kind of prove that you're eligible for the fee waiver would be through providing a supporting document from your school. Now, this document can come either from a school counselor, your class teacher, your school principal even. So based on that, I would say yes. When you hit yes, you are required to add in like a signature. And here you just basically type in your full name, right? Now, we would hit continue and move on to the family section. Next up, the family section is very straightforward. So your parents' marital status, if you live with both of your parents, and if you have any children, you would fill those in, hit continue, and details about your parent 1 and parent 2. Parent 1 I've selected as mother, and I would go down and basically add in all of these relevant details. So they're more interested in getting some contact information as well as what the occupation is. After that, we have siblings. So if you have any siblings, they just want to know the number, which is a drop-down menu. Very straightforward. Now, the education part is interesting. You have to put in your most recent or current high school. This will probably be the high school that you're doing your class 12 in, right? Your date of entry would come in here. Is this a boarding school or not? Will you graduate from this school? Most likely yes. What the graduation date will be. Now, this is another tricky question, so please indicate if any of these options apply to you. If you will graduate early, late, take time off, gap year. Now, let's ask ACI again. So I'm literally just going to copy the entire question, right click and ask ACE AI. So for context, I'm just going to add in that I finished my grade 12, let's say in 2025, and I'm applying for fall 2026. What should I put here? So when we hit go, it'll kind of calculate and think through and basically give us an answer. It says that based on what we've selected, we would be a gap year student, which is the right answer. So basically what it means is if you finished class 12, if you have your class 12 results with you, you will be qualified to be a gap year student. And now as soon as we select the gap year option, Common App does prompt you to write an essay. And again, let's take the help of ACE AI to know what we need to write the essay about. So what should I write for this essay? Very straightforward. Now, based on our response, it'll give us some ideas on what we can write. And the best thing is it gives you like a step-by-step process. So why we took a gap year, was it for personal growth? And I think this is important. So during your gap year, what exactly do you hope to accomplish? Because remember, you're applying for fall 2026, which is a year later. So in addition to knowing that you took the gap year, the colleges also want to know what are you going to do from now, which is almost the end of 2025 up until fall 2026, which is like August or something like that. Now let's go ahead and get some examples too. Give me an example for this essay. And we have an actual example itself. So just as a placeholder, I'm going to copy this here and put it right over here. As you can see, it's staying within that 250 word limit that Common App asks as well. Remember, this is an AI extension tool, so please don't copy paste and fill out your Common App. Use this as like a extension study buddy. But this is a great place to like start and know that you're not just alone. You have the right answers to support yourself as well. So continuing on, other schools if you've attended. Basically, if you've attended any other high school, so from grade 9 to 12, if you've attended more than one school, you would select the other schools here. If you just attended one school, this would be 0, and then you just continue. The section entirely goes away. If you have additional schools, you would add those and you would kind of continue there. Next up, we have colleges and universities. This is kind of tricky. Most students, this is not applicable for, but basically, if you've taken any college level courses where you have credits, transcripts like summer programs, you would add this here. Grades. Now, this is an interesting section. In my opinion, this is one of the most important parts because Your counselor is also asked to fill in this exact same information. And if you are an international student, again, it kind of is difficult because some international students don't follow the GPA, the weighted GPA reporting system. So let's use ACE AI again. We're basically just going to copy this entire section and right click and click on Ask ACE AI. Now let's say I'm in CBSE board. What should I select? Right? And let's see what we come up with here. All right, so for graduating class, this would be the total number of students in my year. Let's say this is 300 for me. This is accumulation of all of the sections combined, so not just your section for class 12. Reporting system, so if you don't have anything specific, you would do none. If there's no official rank, just fine. GPA reporting scale would be most likely other if none of these apply. And cumulative GPA, again, leave blank or not applicable because CBSE does not use a GPA. And the weighting system would be blank as well. So because this is not applicable for CBSE, most of the responses there need to be kept blank, which is accurate. The next section is current or most recent year courses. This is where you put in the courses that you're taking this year, so class 12, right? This section is basically how your school divides the system. In most cases, it's semester. So if you have a midterm, that means you have semesters. If you have a quarter system, add that. But you would add your subject drop down and then the course name. Course schedule would be full, and you would do that for the rest of the subjects. We hit continue and move on to the honors. Now the honors is entirely an optional section. If you don't want to, you don't have to put any honors, but I always recommend they give you 5 spots in order of priority. Use them all. There are different ways in which you can portray your honors, and again, let's use ACE AI to see how strong this verbiage is, because that's what matters. We're trying to present your profile in the best way possible. So we're going to hit Ask ACE AI and click on Review. This is an honor or award. Let's see what it comes up with. In the meantime, you'll select the grade level, so when this honor was achieved, and what level of recognition this is. Try to be kind of modest here. Don't do too much. All right, so let's see. It does give us some strengths where we can improve, and also an example of how we can improve this particular honor. I actually like this suggestion. So adding some numbers and stats is something that I'm always telling students to do. So made honor roll multiple semesters. So what the honor roll was, if you don't have a specific name, you can just call it high school honor roll. So I would basically do made high school honor roll multiple semesters, and then add in these stats. So instead of multiple semesters, I would put in these stats. So whether maybe this was like top 20% of my class for 5 semesters. There we go. That's perfect, right? You can do this for the other honors as well, but this is like a great place to see whatever you've written and improve that verbiage as well. Community-based organizations, this is if any community program has helped you fill out Common App. For most international students, the answer to this is 0. You would just hit continue. Future plans, what do you actually want to be when you grow up? This is, they're not going to hold you to it. They just want to understand what the highest level of degree you want to get and your career interests. So you would add those details in. The next section is the testing section. So here we would add in if you've taken or plan to take any of the standardized test scores, your APs, TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. So whatever is applicable, just add those things in. I think you can select multiple here. So let's see, it lets me do SAT and TOEFL, and then those things appear on the left here. This is an interesting question. I feel like it always gets a little confusing. So again, we'll use ACE AI. Right click and ask ACE AI. I am in CBSE board. What should I put here? Now again, it does specify that you would hit yes for this question and also an explanation. So because the CBSE board system is based on a 10th board exam and 12th board exam, you would hit yes. So this is accurate as well. So let's hit continue. And now since we've selected those 2 tests, it'll ask us for details. Moving on to the next section, which is senior secondary leaving exams. This is another tricky one. So let's ask ACE AI on what we should answer here. So let's say I am in class 12. What should I put here? All right, so it says that if you are in class 12 and in a board like CBSE or ICSE, which is interesting because it kind of just like took on that past context, you would enter 0, which is accurate. On the other hand, if you have finished class 12, you would put in number 1 here because you have that secondary board examination marks available. So we hit continue, move on to the next section. Now the activity section is all optional as well, but again, make use of this. They give you 10 optional spots to put in activities. It's very important on how you present these activities, and we can use ACI again to kind of refine these. So I've filled in some placeholders here. Let's say we right click, ask ACI to review this particular activity, and it'll tell us what we're doing right, how we can review it, maybe even give us a couple options on making it better. In the meantime, you would add in all of these other things, which is what your position was, the organization name, and when you actually did these activity. Now we can see that for the improvement of this explanation, it says to include the number of members that there were in the club. So that's interesting. So maybe I can put like 20 members and taught Python to how many students. That's good too. To maybe 40 plus students. Again, you see that whatever the extension is giving me, I'm not just taking it word for word. You basically use it to get the ideas. Instead of workshops, we specify how many workshops, so maybe in 3 workshops. And instead of just saying awards, we can say won the hackathon award, right? For fastest app or something like that. But whatever is applicable, you get the point. You would add in when you actually did these activities. You can add multiple grades even, so that's an option. Timing of the participation, hours spent, weeks spent. Again, be modest and truthful here. Please don't say you did like 40 hours a week for 50 weeks for all of the activities. It's unreasonable. And if you want to participate in a similar activity at school, now you would do this for all of the different activities. Let's take another activity, for example. So let's do this activity and see how we can refine it or make it better. So right click, ask AI, and we'll review the activity itself. I think the best part is it also gives you options to make it better, which I feel like really helps. So in addition to all of these things, we see that we can add, did you have a specific role like a captain or secretary for the debate club? Perfect. Let's say I was the treasurer. And then attended meetings. So what was the most significant outcome? Attended meetings or practice debate meetings. And how many people were in the club itself? Completed some tournaments or competed in some tournaments. Maybe I can put like 5+ tournaments with X members. So let's say there were 50+ members in the debate club itself. So I would add that here. So I can already see that this activity looks much better with this refinement that the ACE AI extension provided us with. Now the writing section, this is where you add in your actual personal essay. Now the part about the personal essay is this is your personal Common App essay. This essay is the big essay, 650 words that you write. It goes to all of the colleges. In addition to this, you have supplemental college essays that you'll write as well. So my take with a personal essay is instead of first selecting which option you want to go with, try to brainstorm the essay topic that you want to write about. Now this is like an introduction that I did write, and let's take ACI's help to refine this and basically see what it thinks. I'll hit on the review essay option. Now remember, for this particular essay, the goal isn't to talk about why you decided to take the major or why you're a good student. It's a personal essay and topic. So what we get here is the strengths. The essay has a clear narrative. It attempts on personal growth. How we can improve this is it says that it is a cliche topic. So I talk about a sports injury during a game, which I can understand how it can come off as a cliche topic. So that makes sense. The language seems very general. We need to do better. Instead of saying everything I had worked for came crashing down, we need to describe a specific example. Now, this makes sense, definitely. So I think this is something that I would want to improve. So talk about an example here. And let's say, give me a sample for this introduction, just so I can help brainstorm with the extension tool as well. Again, remember, we're not using this extension to write the essay itself, but we're using it as an inspiration and a guide. So it says that the pop wasn't just my ACL, it was the sound of my entire fracturing on the basketball court, which is very visual. So I like the part where it says, I remember the day I tore my ACL during the basketball championship game. It gives more context there. Maybe something like, my whole future snapped before my eyes. So again, I'm not using the exact same thing that ACI is giving me, but I get the point here. And I think it's a good kind of refinement there. So again, like, you can use this in multiple ways. Right now, we're just doing a live edit in Common App, but I feel like we could also do this in like a Word document while you're writing the actual essay itself. Once you have the actual essay, the goal is to choose the best story that it relates to. The Common App personal essay, it can be about anything. It's a personal essay about your personality, what makes you you, and it can fall in the best category that you think. So there's no right or wrong answer on what you choose here. So let's say we hit continue. You have an additional information section. Here, the best way to go about this is, if you have any challenges, you can add yes. It gives you a space to talk about it. Any additional information. Typically, my suggestion is here, add an open link to your resume, like a Google Drive link. That's helpful. You can add your portfolio links. You can add additional information about some activities you want to expand on. If you have an activity that is like a published paper, you can add a link to the paper. So you can add the URL. It's not a clickable link, but it's a URL, right? You can add, if you have an organization that you've started, add social media links, website links. Those things can come in here as well. We would hit continue. And courses and grades. Now, this one is typically not required by most colleges. So we're going to skip this section for now. All right, now that we have all of the basic information in Common App filled out, we actually go on to adding colleges. Now, again, I don't want to make a college list right now, so I'm just going to open our extension and let's say, give me a list of need-blind colleges that offer good scholarships. Now, while this is going through, you have to add the colleges one by one in Common App. Okay, so we have a couple options here. Let's say Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT, and Amherst. Let's say we add in Harvard here. You'll hit the add option, and we can also add in Yale. Now, once you hit add, you'll notice nothing happens on this particular web page. So we're going to go to My Colleges. Now, under My Colleges, we see both of these added. Now, if you open Harvard, you see a few things going on. Under college information, you see the deadlines. This is something you need to remember. What are you trying to apply for? Are you applying for early action or regular decision? Remember, the rules are different for each one. So if you're applying for the early deadline, make sure you're familiar with those rules and you know what needs to happen. Let's say I'm applying for regular. So these questions that you see here listed under Harvard specifically only go to Harvard University, which means that whatever is asked here is just for Harvard, not for the rest of the colleges. Let's start out with the general questions. So preferred start term would be fall. Admission plan, like I said, let's say I want to do regular decision. And I'll be on campus, so scroll down. Do you intend to apply for need-based financial aid? Yes. It's very important that you select yes here Because if you select no, you cannot go back after they offer you admission and ask for aid. This is a very, very important question. Once you select yes here, this triggers your need-based application, which is the CSS profile. The next question is, do you intend to submit supplementary media materials? Let's say we'll do yes. You do have to do it through SlideRoom, which is another website here, but that's okay. Do you plan to take SAT or ACT? Yes, and then you'll make sure that you've submitted this in the Common App portal. We'll hit continue. And as we kind of continue through these sections, you'll notice the general sections completed. You select what field of study you want to go with. So let's say I want to do biomedical engineering as 1, and then 2 and 3 are optional. So if you don't want to do an alternate option, that's fine, you can leave it blank. Activities that interest you in Harvard. These are all optional, and if you don't want to add them, you can just hit continue. It'll go on. Have you previously applied to Harvard? If this is your first time applying, probably no. And you can then hit continue. And then the next question is how many siblings? Now I know most of these questions seems repetitive, but some colleges do ask some questions that they want in their own section, so you do have to answer them. Cities and states where you've lived in the past, you would fill whatever is applicable here, very straightforward. Most of this would be no, basically if you've been arrested as a student. But if this does apply to you, just remember, are you currently serving in the US Armed Forces? And short answers. Now this is typically where the supplemental questions are asked. So again, if you have questions, you can basically just right click, ask Ace AI, and give me ideas on what I can write for this essay to help you brainstorm if you haven't gotten started. Each university has its own supplemental questions. These questions are only for Harvard. It's not going to go into any other college. We can see that Ace AI does a pretty good job in talking about, you can consider these topics. You can do a unique background, overcoming a challenge, or specific community involvement. The question itself is, how will the life experiences that have shaped you into who you are today help you contribute to Harvard? Now, clearly we can see that the AI extension tool doesn't give you the essay itself, which I guess is ethical in a way, but it does tell you how you can start writing one, and you can use these tools to actually get started with the essay itself. You'll also notice that the essay limit is just 150 words, which is significantly lower than the Common App personal essay, and that's how the supplemental essays tend to be. We move on to the next section, which is recommenders. Now this is important. This is where you invite your school counselor, your teachers, and other recommenders. You would hit invite and basically select who you want to invite. For the teachers, they need an email address, what subject the teachers has taught you, and their name. Now, for the email address, if they have a school-specific email address, which ends with like a .org, that's always best. But if they don't, that's fine. You just use a personal email address. My advice for all of these things, you can see when they've started, if they've finished it and submitted their documents. Please don't wait until the deadline for you to actually send in the request. Remind your teachers and make sure that they're completing their tasks by the deadline that the college has as well. You can go into the dashboard on the top, and if you go into My Colleges, it shows you the colleges that you are applying to, and basically if you go into My Colleges, it shows you colleges you've applied, colleges that are still in progress. So with this, you can track up to 20 colleges that Common App lets you add and apply to. So that was the Common App process as well as the ACE extension. Now, if you're new and you want to use the ACE extension, definitely download it. It's free to use and get started with for a certain number of messages, after which you can purchase it for an extremely low fee. In my opinion, it's one of the best extension tools that are out there, first of its kind that I've personally seen, that actually answers in the right way for domestic or international students on college-specific questions. You don't have to go and pay a counselor or pay these heavy fees. You have everything right there as you're filling the stuff out. So check it out if you're interested. The link is going to be in the description below. And for those of you that are downloading the Google extension, leave a review. The first 50 people that download and leave a good review will do a small giveaway, because this is a new extension. So let's get it at like a 5-star rating. Use it. I'm sure that you guys are going to love it. All right, that's all I had for this video. I know we did a walkthrough after a very long time. So if you like this type of video, let me know in the comments below what other walkthroughs we can do. Maybe like a scholarship application, CSS profile, or do like a separate portal altogether. Like MIT, for example, has its own portal. It's not Uncommon App. We can go through that. But let me know in the comments below. I'll keep an eye out. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.